Oh, ladies and gentlemen, only a couple of you guys got that reference from what I just did there. Shout out Clarky, shout out Dylan. If you're listening, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Ball Boys podcast. All right, let me start that over. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Ball Boys podcast. I am your host, Caleb Zuver, here again with my friend, my buddy, and the birthday boy this week. He's turning 19, right?
Yes,
on
sir.
Thursday, February 4th, Alexa. How are you feeling, buddy? It's a big day coming up.
Big day coming up. I'm excited, about to be 19 years old, and I'm rolling.
Happy birthday, buddy. And it's
Thank
been
you.
good to get to know you, and glad we're sitting in here for another episode. So let's start with this, Alexa. We got a lot to talk about today. But we're going to start, obviously, with the Super Bowl next week, or this Sunday, excuse me. Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Buccaneers being the first team ever in NFL history to host the Super Bowl and play in it. So that's something interesting to watch for in a year where it feels like home crowds have been almost nothing. Of course, we get the first team to host the Super Bowl in their home city. So, Alexa, I'm going to give you the floor here first. Give me a key to the game for both teams, and then give me your score prediction.
Key to the game, the defense of both teams. Who can stop the opposing team's quarterback? You have two best quarterbacks. You have the legend and you have the future. One-on-one in this game. Which defense is going to get the key stop? That is question. And what else place to do it than Tampa? So much memories, especially Super Bowl memories there.
I know where this is going.
And how about that Santonio Holmes?
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I always make this joke. We can never go 24. I can never go 24 hours. I heard something about the Steelers. So I'm gonna let you keep going. But golly, of course,
I have to
that.
say, because Caleb likes that. But no, this is a great Super Bowl to look into. You have, like I mentioned, two good quarterbacks playing. Tampa defense surprised me a lot because I was harsh on them, and Caleb knows, especially their secondary. Look at them in playoffs. They stepped up. They stopped a couple of good teams, and they're rolling. Can't wait.
Yeah, and you just talking about that game just gets me fired up, man. Like this is what we want to see. This is the GOAT, like you said, versus the guy that is supposedly supposed to surpass him. Like, this is everything you want. This is LeBron facing Michael Jordan in the finals. Like, we are going to get to see that. And that gets me so excited. And, you bring up a great point, Alexa, talking about the Tampa Bay secondary. Do not like any of those guys in that secondary all year, whether it's Murphy Bunting, Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis. I cannot stand those guys. I like Antoine Winfield Jr. Love him. Everybody else I just can't stand. But you are so right when you say they have stepped up. And they've done it in a big way, and it's the reason that they're in this position. Murphy Bunting's had a great playoffs. He's had a pick in every game. And I think that's going to be the key. Who's going to win this turnover battle? We've seen Tom Brady be turnover prone in these playoffs, but Patrick Mahomes really hasn't. Can the Bucs defense bail Tom Brady out again? I think that it might come down to that. That's asking a lot out of a good defense. But when you look at Mahomes, I don't know what you do to stop Patrick Mahomes. Nobody's figured out the formula yet, and it seems like as the years go by, he's getting even better at just dinking and dunking and taking what the defense gives him and then loading up for his deep shot late in the game. Whatever it is, he's becoming more cerebral, and I think that poses a tough challenge for a really good Tampa Bay defense. You go back to a couple weeks ago when they played in Tampa, and they kind of just boat raced them from the start. It got close at the end, but Tyreek Hill with his speed just kind of burned him. I think he had 200 yards in the first half. And they're obviously going to have to try and neutralize him, but that's going to leave Kelsey open. And gosh, they're just such a tough matchup. So Alexa, tell me your score prediction for this game. Super Bowl, what is this? Is this
55?
Is it 55 or 56?
I don't even know.
Gosh. I'm not a Roman numeral guy, so when I even look at the logo, I don't even know.
I'm confused.
But go ahead for Super Bowl 55 or 56, whichever one this one is.
Tampa Bay.
Well, because you're riding the Tampa. You've been riding the Tampa.
I'm riding
yep,
the Tampa. I'm going to say Tampa wins, and the final score is going to be 33. No, I'm changing it. 34-30 for Tampa.
So you're saying it's going to be kind of high scoring.
Yep.
Then. Okay, and I'm going to go Kansas City. I'm going to take them 41. That's right, 41-31. I think, honestly, Lexa, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I think as good as that Tampa defense is, I just don't know. It just, the playoff Chiefs are a real thing. Playoff Mahomes is a real thing. And I just think Brady, I don't know. I really have no basis for that pick. I just do think it'll be a high scoring game because I don't think that both teams are going to be able to stop the other opposing team's quarterback. But what was your prediction again? 34-40? 34-30. And I think we're both kind of thinking the same thing when it comes to high scoring. But man, I'm so excited for this game. And it should be a good one. Of course, both of our teams aren't in it, but it's still the Super Bowl, we'll still watch. Let's move on to other NFL news, which we haven't had much to talk about, but it's going to be a wild offseason, and it's starting before the even actual season is ending with Matthew Stafford getting moved to the Los Angeles Rams in exchange for Jared Goff, a third-round pick, and 2 future first-round picks. So, Alexa, shocking news that happened over the weekend. Give me your thoughts. We haven't talked about Stafford in the QB carousel that much. We're going to get into it right now. Tell me your thoughts about this trade and what you kind of see going forward for the NFL offseason.
Like you mentioned, the news came out of nowhere, and I was pretty shocked, and I'm going to tell you why. I think the Rams overpaid for Stafford. I do get a third-round pick and a first, but they threw in an extra first in Jared Goff. Now, Jared Goff, I'm not high on him or anything. He's just that type of guy that's just going to get to the office and just either is going to win or lose. You won't see a perfection or anything. But, Lions just got way better, I think, because you got a quarterback that you can work with. You got 2 future first-round picks. And, even if it's a 32nd, this is NFL draft.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even third-round pick is good.
Yeah.
So they can add to that team. And, Stafford, I like him, but it was just time to move on from him. But like you mentioned, it was going to be a crazy offseason. And, looking for what they gave up, they could have maybe called Texans and gave a little bit more for Watson.
Yeah.
That is just my thinking.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point. We talk about Goff because, I used to be on the Jared Goff train big time. I was a big Jared Goff guy after that Monday night game versus the Chiefs 2 years ago where he put up 54 points. It's like, this guy's got it. But it just feels like since that Super Bowl loss, it just feels like he's a different player. Confidence isn't there, whatever it may be. I'm interested to see I feel like the Lions are in a good spot now because you're garnering these picks and you have Jared Goff there. Now, if you want Jared Goff, if you want to play him for a year or two and see what he's got, you can do that, and that's a great idea. Or if you say after 1 year or even, heck, before the draft, say, he's not a part of our long-term plan. Well, I think there's a lot of teams that would take Jared Goff. I think there are a lot of suitors for him. Go get yourself another third-round pick, a fourth-round pick, something like that. Keep building that draft capital because you need young players in that building. And I think that's something I'm interested to watch is, if the Lions try to swap him for more picks, maybe trade up with their number 7 pick and try to go get someone in the draft. They have a lot of options, and it feels like a lot of times the Lions as a franchise have just been so trapped, and have nowhere to go because Stafford has elevated some of their players, especially offensively, but not to playoff and Super Bowl levels, but they're just kind of 7-9, 8-8, good enough, and they haven't been bad in a while. I feel like. And so now, they're probably going to be bad next year. But if you can get those young guys experience, I think it'll bode well for them. And so it'll be interesting to see. I definitely like what they did. And, you talk about the Rams overpaying. I think you're right. But I think also they realize their Super Bowl window is short. Jalen Ramsey, huge contract. Aaron Donald, huge contract. They're going to pay some of these offensive weapons that they have. And I think they've shown that they can draft in later rounds too. Fuller from Ohio State played well for them this year. He got drafted 5th, 6th, 7th round. I'm not even sure which. So that'll be interesting to see from them. But I think they had to do something. But how does this land for our teams, Alexa? Because I know you guys signed Haskins, but how does it land for your team? Like, were you ever thinking, even before you signed Haskins, like maybe Stafford could come to us? And would you be willing to pay the price? I think you already answered this, but explain a little more. Would you be willing to pay the price the Rams did for him if you were the Steelers?
I don't think I would pay the price for Stafford if I was the Steelers. And before Haskins, I did think of a couple of quarterbacks to bring in because Ben is getting up there. A couple of guys that I had on mind before we signed Haskins, I wanted Darnold. I actually thought, a second-round pick, bring him in, let him study, playbook, get him in a winning franchise. A dream scenario that we will have to give up more was Watson, but those were just a couple of guys I wanted us to get. But I see the approach with Haskins, what they did. But Stafford's in the winning mode now, and I think he can deliver for them. Now, do I think he's going to win Super Bowl? I don't think.
But do you think they'll be there?
They're going to get there.
They're going to be there at the end, NFC champion, any divisional round, something like that. I think they'll be up there. So I'll ask you another question. And yeah, this is probably going to be a long podcast, but we got a lot to talk about here. So stick around with us. But what do you think this move means for the overall QB carousel? Because now you're going to have teams saying, well, Stafford got this. What are we going to have to give up for Deshaun Watson? So where do you think it goes from here as far as teams like Miami potentially getting a quarterback? The Colts obviously need one. The Jets, are they going to draft one? Are they going to trade for Deshaun Watson? And like I said, Jared Goff's still out there, I think, if Detroit wants to do that. So what do you think this means for all this, and where do you see this whole QB carousel and wild offseason going?
Like you mentioned, if somebody wants to make a trade, it's going to be brought up to Stafford. Especially if it's Watson, the age difference, the mentality of young quarterback. Would you rather roll with Stafford's 32, right? Would you rather roll with Stafford, who's 32, or Watson, who's in mid-20s? So the asking price for now, even better or just a decent quarterback, will be high because of this trade.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because I don't think we've ever had this, Lex. I don't think we've ever had I don't even know how old he is. How old is Deshaun Watson? 25, 26? Have we ever had a young quarterback like that's this young and this good want to trade? I don't think there's any precedent for this. This is unlike anything we've ever seen. So I'm interested to see what team's going to do it. And everything out of Houston says that their plans are to keep him. And I don't know if it's going to have to get uglier for Deshaun to get out of there, but that's also something that, at a later date we could talk about. Is the Texans organization just feels to me like, golly, man,
Hopkins.
Brutal. But hey, as a Colts fan, they can keep doing what they're doing.
Exactly.
And they can keep running that thing into the ground, and I will not care. So that was good. Good stuff, Alexa. And now let's move to the NBA. And we always touch on our teams, kind of give the audience an update on our teams and how they're doing. I'll start here. I went in for my all-star voting this week. And I want to share with the audience my all-star team. And I want you to react to it. So before we get into our teams, let's go through my all-star roster. So for the West, at guards, I got Steph Curry and Luka. Now, I think this is a tough one because you got guys like Dame Lillard there, Devin Booker and CP3 who are having great years. It's a loaded area, I think, and it's hard to choose. But I went with those two. And then this one, I know it's controversial. I know. But I went with Paul George. And I'm a big, hater of Paul George, especially what happened last year. But I think he deserves credit for what he's done in the regular season. Now, people can label him as a regular season guy, and I think he is too. But I think that deserves some props, I think. And so I put him in there. And I've kind of come back and forth on that, and if he really should. But I feel like he was having the best season out of the options that I had. And then obviously LeBron, there's no reason to explain that. And then I have Jokic, who, Denver's not playing as great as I thought they would be, but he's having a phenomenal season, no doubt about it. And then we go to the East. and this is where it gets interesting, especially with the guards. I went Bradley Beal, and I think, again, the Wizards stink. They're terrible. There's no denying that. But he's playing out of his mind. And if that doesn't get him into an all-star starter, like what's he even in the league for? He's just useless. And then I voted for Colin Sexton. And Alexa's laughing at me right now, guys. But the reason I did this is, man, first of all, I'm a Cavs fan. I got to support my guy. But he's the sole reason the Cavs are in playoff contention and even being talked about in the national media is because of those couple games he had versus the Nets and other games. He's the sole reason the Cavs, not the sole reason, but he's a huge part of why the Cavs have taken this next step. And I think he deserves something for that. Now, do I think he'll actually be a starter? No, I don't. I think he's going to be on the roster. I'm crossing my fingers, but I had to give him the nod there, count towards his votes, whatever. I got KD there. He's coming off his Achilles injury. He's playing great, looking like the old KD. I have Embiid, who's in the MVP conversation. Then I have Giannis. And, I feel like he's not having the most impressive year by his standards, but it's still better than a lot of players. So what do you think about that, Alexa?
Okay, so the reason why I left was the way you said it. So it's not like that you chose him over other guards. But no, I agree with Curry. And I know people are going to say Lillard or any other, but look, Clay is out for a whole year.
And that roster is kind of depleted.
Especially their second unit. And he's right now leading them to winning record. So hands down, great pick. Luka, sure.
We'll get into that in a second.
We'll get into that quickly. And then, like you mentioned, Paul George. People forget what he did, especially against the Heat in early 2010s or something like that. Like that dunk
2012, 13.
Yeah, just the Mavs series completely portrayed Paul George, which was hilarious, by the way.
Yeah.
And then my boy Jokic, shout out to him. I agree with everything in the West.
Yeah.
East, I love East. Bradley Beal deserves it, like you mentioned. If he doesn't get in, I'm going to have some issues with NBA.
Yeah.
Because he's playing out of his mind. Over there scoring 51 points and they're still losing by 20 points.
Mm-hmm.
And like you mentioned for Sexton, he's playing good. He's going to win the most improved player, I think. And they're rolling there like, 6 seed or something like that?
Yeah.
Cavs. So he deserves it. Giannis and other, there's no argument there.
And Embiid and KD to round it out. Mm-hmm. But we'll get into yours next week. So you get your all-star selections around. We can talk about those. But as far as the Cavs goes, I'll just touch on them quick. They split with the Timberwolves in a back-to-back, which I thought wasn't too happy about because I feel like there should have been 2 wins. But it was good to get one last night. And like you said, we're kind of in the middle of the pack of the East right now. Still lots to improve on. Made some lineup changes. We put Jared Allen in the starting lineup, benched Drummond last game. I think that's a move towards the younger Jared Allen to get him more time. We just got off a tough road, and we got a tough road coming up to play teams like the Milwaukee, the Celtics coming up. So it'll be interesting to see how we fare against those guys. We're gonna get into some more stuff later, but you could have the floor here for a little bit about just a great game last night. I think you do have to admit that between the Mavs and the Suns, but golly. The Mavs are struggling right now.
Mavs lost. Let's just put it. No, you're right. It was a great game, even though I hate admitting. It was a great game. Mavs got off to a fast start. First time healthy this year that the whole roster has been healthy. 11-point lead blown, of course. Rick Carlisle, his rotations that I can rant about, benching Luka and everything like that. 7 minutes in fourth quarter. And, of course, that's when Suns come out hot. Just a hard game for Mavs. I saw a lot of improvement. By the way, they're on 6-game losing streak, so there's no improvement on that. But there's improvement last night. They're fighting. The bench is yelling. That is good. James Johnson is yelling on the sidelines. They just 8-13, 13th in the West. Don't even have a first-round pick. And you know who's smiling at us? The Knicks. But you know what? We have a favorable schedule next 10 games. I see 7-3. To get us at 500.
That would be huge.
Yeah, we just we play Warriors tomorrow, I believe. So we have to win that.
And it's low key. Like, I think for both teams, you're playing the Warriors. Like, that's a big game. Like, that Warriors team, they're gonna claw for the playoffs too. And the way the Mavs have started out, I think they're gonna have to try to claw for a playoff spot at the end. But I do think if the Mavs can pick it up a little bit, and just find a way into the playoffs, I don't think any of the teams, like, if you guys haven't played Utah, I don't think Utah wants to see Dallas. Yeah. I don't think they want to see Luka or KP or any of those boys. Like, you just gotta find a way in for a team like you guys. And I think, obviously, I'm gonna say you probably won't beat the Lakers, but I think you guys could get a couple games off the Lakers, no doubt about it. And so if you can just get things rolling, and you may not be a 1, 2, or 3 seed, but if you can just get in, I think they got a chance to make some noise in the playoffs still, even after what I've seen. Let's move to MLB. We don't talk about MLB, and I think that's because this offseason has been really, really quiet, with a lot of teams not really making any moves, not a lot of star free agents, but there was a trade. Nolan Arenado, one of the best players in the game, goes to St. Louis. And, usually we talk about Nolan Arenado, and, he hasn't had much playoff success. And I know you don't want to put it all on one guy in baseball. It's a team thing. But he's going to go to a franchise that's got a good front office, great baseball town. They love the Cardinals down there. And it'll be interesting to see if he can go win a ring there. They had a good season last year in the 60-game shortened season. And I'm interested to see. Nolan Arenado is one of my favorite players to watch in baseball. What do you think about the trade for the Cardinals and for the Rockies?
That trade for Cardinals just won in my division, simply. Division you have Pirates, Cubs, Cardinals, Reds, and a fifth team, whoever they are. Milwaukee Brewers, yep. I mean, that is like NFC East in football, straight up division. That's just how it is. But I mean, that's a great trade for him. He's one of the best third basemen in the league, and I'm putting him ahead of Justin Turner easily. So I mean, and their first base is Goldsmith, or however you say his name. But that is a great trade for them. I mean, they had a guy who has an MVP potential, who gives his heart out every time he's on the field.
Great.
I mean, look at his highlights
defender,
of defense.
Great defender.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I like the moves they made, and they're setting up for a huge playoff run.
So let's talk about your favorite team that's in that division. You just named them, the Pirates. They've had an interesting offseason so far. You've been keeping tabs on that. What do you got to say about that?
This is like the first time the Pirates had led offseason, but in the wrong way. They traded everybody. I don't even know who they lost, to be honest. I know they traded Big Joe, and I love Big Joe. Joe Musgrove, by the way. That's his name, but his nickname is Big Joe. But he's been great to Pittsburgh. We got him from Garrett Cole trade. And I mean, he was amazing. Even though he was 1-5, the heart on the field, the leader of the city. And I mean, they got 4 or 5 prospects for him, headlined by a Hunter Head, who's outfielder, who has great potential to be a star in this MLB next couple of years. They traded, and I'm actually surprised by this trade. They traded James Talon to Yankees for 4 prospects. 3 of them are now in our top 30. And for a guy that hasn't pitched 2 years, that's a great return. So shout out to Ben Sherrington, our GM. He's doing everything that I wanted to. And to put this in the terms, Pirates are like Lions, just in the middle. They chose rebuild, and they're adding to that group. And the first overall pick, which they better use it on Kumar, or they'll see me in their front office if they don't take Kumar. So just a warning for them. But no, the future, 2-3 years from now, Pirates should compete for NL Central.
Right. And, as the MLB season comes up, we'll talk more about what we see out of both of our teams and our predictions. But it just feels like not a lot has shifted. And, you take last year with a grain of salt. And, I think the Dodgers were definitely one of the best teams, but just everything was so weird about a 60-game season. Looks like they're going to have 154-game season, which will be really, really interesting. And we'll see how that goes. But, Alexa, we're introducing a new segment on this show. It's going to come towards the end where we're just going to get some things off our chest. It's sports are stressful to us. And, it always doesn't have to be about sports either. But this was inspired by your fantastic and very well articulated rant about the Pittsburgh Penguins on our last episode last week. So we're not sure what we're going to call this segment yet, but for now, let's just call it rant time. So you're up first. You got a couple minutes here, 2 or 3 minutes, to just rant about whatever you want. Go ahead.
Well, there's two things. And first one is Manchester United. All right? Today they won 9-0. Good win. I mean, 9 goals, can't complain. I'm happy. But here's my issue with them. They are second right now. They have same point as the first place, but they play 2 more games. Do you know what does that mean? They already are behind basically 4 points, if you want to say. And you know what? I had enough of them not signing big players, especially Jack Grealish. He wants to come play. He told them a couple of times, hey, I've been a fan since childhood. I want to play. It's my dream. West Ham asks 100 mil. They offer 90. And I know for a fact they have 10 mil and they just don't want to pay it. And that irritates me so much because I know they have. And here's the second rant, ladies and gentlemen, and you guys won't be familiar, besides only a couple of people. But Serbian Soccer League is coming back this weekend. And you know what? I had enough of them too. My soccer team, Partizan, don't even get me started with them, first of all. I don't even know who they added, to be honest. They're 9 points behind Red Star, who's going to win that league. And I told my grandma after second week that this was over, that they won the league, and it's over. And I'm already getting upset about this weekend game. I'm already getting upset about the game they play against each other in 2 months. I had enough.
That it?
That was it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was a great one. It wasn't as long as the NHL one, but that was still really good. So now it's my turn. My friends who know me, they know I've been a Duke basketball fan since 2010 when they beat Butler in the national championship 61-59. Thank God Gordon Hayward missed that half quarter. This Duke team this year has put me through so many headaches, sleepless nights, you name it. I've been through it with this team. And just, Alexa, just when it looked like they were starting to turn the corner, coming off a gutsy performance versus Georgia Tech and pulling out that win, destroying Clemson at home on Saturday by 40. They turn around and play 6-10 Miami, who's 2-5 in the ACC. I don't know if that's right. It's some 2 forever in the ACC. I know they have 2 wins going in the game. Miami is the worst 3-point shooting team in the ACC. And what do they decide to do when Duke rolls into town? Oh boy, it's like 5 Steph Currys out on the floor, and there was nothing that Duke could do about it. They even went zone. They dared them to shoot because they thought, the worst 3-point shooting team in the ACC. And they made everything. And Duke turned the ball over every single time. They went down the floor and they got walloped, even though we had a chance to win the end. It felt like we lost by 30. And so we fall to 7-6, Alexa, and we're on the edge of missing the NCAA tournament. As a Duke fan, that does not sit right with me. I don't know how the NCAA tournament feels when my team is not playing in it. I have no idea what that feels like. I've never experienced it in my entirety of Duke fandom, and I don't know if I'm ready for it. So, like I said, every single time this team, I see them turning the corner, they're getting better, almost March, Coach K is going to get ready, they fall apart every single time, and it's got to get fixed. And quite frankly, Alexa, we might have to win out just to give ourselves a fighting chance to make this thing. Let's clap together. Come on. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I feel way better now.
Yeah, it's good to just get things off your chest. It's a good therapy. All right, Alexa. So to wrap up, you go ahead and give your shout out right quick.
I'm going to give my shout out to Taylor. It's her birthday today, so Taylor, happy birthday.
My shout out goes to Yaya, my grandma down in Florida. Last week was my grandpa Stevie. Now it's my grandma Yaya. She sent citrus cooler Gatorade to the dorms at Ball State University, so I'm good for about the next 2 days after I down all 8 bottles of those things because I love them. And also, as we go today, let's check what my TikTok's at. For those of you who don't know, I did post a TikTok We are at 21.9K likes, and it's been up for over 24 hours, so go check it out on TikTok, Zeus.35. I think it'll give you guys a good laugh, and hopefully this podcast did today. It's a good episode, Alexa, and we're trying to keep things rolling here. And we'll see. Yeah, anything else to add before we go?
Well, how many likes you got?
21.9K.
My career high, 7 likes
Hey!
on Twitter. It was Maxi's birthday.
Maxi!
No, Maxi hit a 3 against Nuggets, and I did the Maxi Call Me celebration.
Yes, sir.
7 likes.
Hey, we'll teach him to get there someday. All right, everybody. Take care. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you here next week, and we'll talk about the Super Bowl and the NBA again. Talk to you later. Thanks.